Hey, Happy New Year to everyone. You know, I'm holding this dear furry soul Chocolate, and Fluffy's downstairs playing, and I am praying that a lot more positive frequencies will help our struggling Earth in this 2020 New Year. It seems like we need all the help we can get, as the horrific fires in Australia have killed at least 25 people and more than 500 million wild birds and animals. It's hard to believe. This 2020 Southern Hemisphere summer has had the highest Australia temperature ever recorded, 120 degrees Fahrenheit in Penrith, a western suburb of Sydney. In addition to the climate crisis, there are so many unknowns about the renewed political and military tensions in the Middle East. But we're going to keep going. I'm going to put Chocolate down so I can share some important information with you, starting that above Earth, it appears now that even the night sky is going to keep changing. This week on Monday night, this was January 6, 2020, 60 small satellites were launched by Elon Musk's SpaceX Starlink system that emerged as a straight line like this photograph after Starlink's first launch last year in May of 2019. That's this photograph, but this is what happened on January 6th, just a couple of days ago. Now, each batch of 60 small satellites are released at 180 miles up, and then they rise higher to 342 miles. After Monday's launch, there are now 180 orbiting Earth, and more will be released every month because Elon Musk has approval from the Federal Communications Commission to launch 12,000 of these small satellites. His goal is to provide an advanced broadband internet system. And believe it or not, Musk is seeking approval to launch 30,000 more for a total of 42,000 small Starlink satellites that will orbit in these straight grids around our whole planet. So from high up, I'm going now down to about 400 to 800 feet above ground. These green, yellow, and purple Google markers show where another strange and unidentified aerial technology has been haunting the skies of northeastern Colorado and southwestern Nebraska since the middle of December of 2019 into January 2020. That's about a month, and it's baffling authorities. County, state, and federal officials keep saying they have no idea where the drone-like technologies are taking off from or returning to, or what they are doing, or how some seem to remain stationary for a long time in the same place in the air. The drone mystery made the front page of the New York Times on January 2nd, 2020, with the headline, quote, "It's creepy. Unexplained drones swarm by night over prairie," close quote. Many residents in northeastern Colorado and southwestern Nebraska have reported to sheriffs, police, the FAA, and other authorities that some of the aerial lights make buzzing sounds, but others are completely silent. Some flash red, green, and white lights, while some are only steady red lights. Some have the shape of a fixed-wing Cessna, yet are strangely colored all white with no number letter identification or other markings, just pure white. No one knows where the white fixed-wing planes come from either, or where they go. The drones are described as large, comparable to commercial octocopters, with 8 rotors that can fly for 16 minutes on one battery charge. But some eyewitnesses of the strange aerial phenomena in Colorado and Nebraska say some of the flashing lights that they have watched have remained in one place in the sky for perhaps 2 hours without moving. On Monday morning, January 6, 2020, this week, There was a private meeting of officials from the FBI, the Federal Aviation Administration, the U.S. Air Force Office of Special Investigations, the U.S. Army, the Colorado Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, and sheriffs and law enforcement from many counties in northeastern Colorado and southwestern Nebraska. The meeting was to talk confidentially, away from the public and most of the media, about what some people were calling a disturbing invasion of these mystery drones. After the private meeting, the Phillips County Sheriff's Office in Holyoke, Colorado, posted on Facebook, quote, "A strategy meeting was held today in Brush, Colorado, with federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies regarding the drone issue. None of the agencies can confirm that the drones are malicious. A task force has been organized and we are asking for your assistance. Specifically, we are looking for the command vehicle. That means whatever would be controlling the drones. We are looking for a closed box trailer with antenna or a large van that does not belong in the area. If you see anything that resembles this description, please call the Phillips County Sheriff's Office at 970-854-3644. Thank you from the Phillips County Sheriff's Office." Close quote. One of the Nebraska eyewitnesses of the strange drones noticed early on that some don't seem to land for battery recharging. Alex Peterson is owner of the Windmill Angus Ranch in Hagler, Nebraska, in the southwestern corner where Nebraska, Kansas, and Colorado borders meet. I first worked with Alex in 2013 when we began having a series of bloodless, trackless cattle mutilations on his large Angus ranch in Hagler. And now he is baffled yet again by all the mysterious aerial drones that are flying in the night sky over his ranch. Alex has a thermal rifle scope that ranges from 4.5 to 9 power. He has been mounting it on a tripod to record some of the highly strange drone-like objects that have been showing up over his ranch almost every night now since December 30th. And he makes sure that the tripod is on the ground solid. He sent me 3 short videos that he got with his thermal rifle scope on Thursday, January 2nd, as this new year began. In the first 2 short clips, you can hear Alex and his ranch hand talk. And then in the third, longer clip, Alex can clearly see through his binoculars that the drone-like aerial object had flashing red, green, and white lights. But what he recorded with his thermal rifle scope looks completely different. So here now, we begin with the 3 infrared video clips that Alex recorded on January 2nd, 2020.
Yeah, that one's flashing red and green. Look through your field glasses, Alex, at that one.
Okay, hold on. And I've been watching that fucker for quite a while. About an hour it's been sitting there. Hold on, I'm making a recording.
You ain't here. Hang on. See if you're more steady than I am. Because I can't get to 1.
Oh no, I'm not gonna get it much. I'm shaking.
Now next will be another video that Alex recorded last night on January 7th, 2020. His thermal rifle scope was mounted on his tripod, firmly on the ground, when lights showed up unlike anything that he has seen before, and he struggled to keep the lens focused on the moving, unidentified lights.
You can actually hear it. There's two objects. It's really hard to keep on. It's coming right over me, and I'm trying to hold steady. There it is. Where the shit? There's no blinking lights at all.
Alex had never seen the triangle of lights in his scope before, and that same night, Alex's sister-in-law also videotaped with her iPhone a light in the sky that suddenly became three lights like Alex's video.
After this, I'm just going to.
We were watching it come over. It looked like an 8-rotor drone, maybe 6 foot in diameter, 400 feet high. You could hear the buzzing. It sounded like electric motors and the props running. If you look to the north, say I'm facing west, there was 4 more. And the lowest one was maybe 100 feet above the ground. It looked like a flying stop sign, so I'm assuming it was either a 5-rotor or 8-rotor drone. And the one that was maybe 100 feet above the ground, below, down by the river, the Republican River, he was a quarter mile away, so you could just see him from the side.
So that's 2 drones, one close over you and one down by the river?
The one that went over us was maybe traveling 40 mile an hour, 400, 500 feet up. I ran to the office and I have some Steiner field glasses. When I looked above, though, I seen another one with a solid red light. And I'm guessing 1,000 feet, maybe a little more. And it was the fixed wing, and it was a lot higher up. It turned and made a U-turn and went back over the drones. And then by the time my neighbor and I got in the pickup and took off down the highway, the only one we could see was the solid red light. It wasn't flashing. There wasn't any white, green lights on it or anything. It was solid red.
Could you see red, green, and white flashing lights on each of what you think were the lower drones?
Yes. There was 8 of them, and they were all spaced between, I would say, quarter mile to half a mile apart.
So there were 8, what you think were drones that were buzzing about 400 feet above the ground on December 30th. And above them, up maybe 1,000 feet, there was what you saw through your binoculars, something that was like a smaller fixed wing and had a steady red light, and it was circling above the lower drones.
Correct.
Is there anything on your Angus Ranch property or even a nearby ranch where you know for a fact that the United States has a nuclear missile silo underground?
No, there's none in this area. You have to go about 125 miles to get to the first area, up around Sterling, Colorado, and across to Sydney.
Currently, the U.S. has 400 Minuteman III missiles that are deployed in underground missile silos around F.E. Warren Air Force Base in Cheyenne, Wyoming, Malmstrom Air Force Base in Great Falls, Montana, and Minot Air Force Base in North Dakota. This whole phenomenon started in eastern Colorado in mid-December, and we're talking in the first week of January on January 6th. This is the very day that there is a secret meeting that is being held. They did not want anybody from the media or the public to attend the meeting. Why would they be having a secret meeting with the FAA, the FBI, and authorities ranging from sheriffs to Homeland Security? Why would they want to do this in secret after nearly a month of headlines growing and the New York Times putting it on the front page of the New York Times, calling it creepy 2 or 3 days ago?
I've come up with scenarios. One is if they're seriously testing drones and AI technology, seeing if they can send a swarm of drones out over an area, map every square foot of it to find any kind of terrorist threat or any kind of threat, training camps, just to map the ground.
If that were true, then for any responsible government, local, state, or Fed, they would have made an announcement to the populations. This is what we are doing. These are grid AI tests. Do not be alarmed. It will be going on between mid-December and mid-January.
Very true. But they haven't said a word.
No.
And the authorities don't have a word. So then the second scenario is possibly, what are they looking for? They're mapping every square foot with a massive number of drones. So if they're looking for something, the question is what?
Right.
Did they lose a nuke? Did a satellite crash, come out of orbit? Or the fourth theory is this is the new Space Force that was just launched. Do we, as a Space Force, have technology that the average public has no clue about? And the thing I'm getting at there is nobody can seem to find where these take off. Nobody can seem to find out where they're landing. They just show up. Are they being launched from 50, 60,000 feet off of, let's say, a floating aircraft carrier or something?
Right.
I don't know. I know there's millions and millions and billions of planets out there. Possibly there's other life. And they're here. The government doesn't know what to do. That would explain the secrecy of this whole thing. But the amount of drones and the amount of money each one of these drones would cost to be able to, we're talking $50,000 to $150,000 drones, to be able to stay airborne, the number of hours, fly 500-600 mile circles. I mean, there isn't anything even closely available to the public right now.
This was from a videotaped interview that Alex and I did 2 days ago on Monday, the 6th of January, the same day that authorities and the FBI and the FAA and Homeland Security were having their all-private meeting. And as Alex said, that for Homeland Security and national security to be so high, United States and everywhere around the world now, and for these strange lights, possibly some kind of advanced drone technology, to have been haunting Colorado and Nebraska for nearly a month, and that authorities are still saying they are desperate to understand what is happening. Me today, this was from it's a Facebook posting, and it was with a Journal Advocate in Northern Colorado. And this headline is, quote, "Drones spotted over hospital, power plant. It may be violating federal regulations. The entire Sterling area is a no drone zone according to the FAA, and so these are violating federal regulations." Now, another Facebook post that came yesterday, and it was put into my email on January 7th today. This is somebody who is living and working in McCook, Nebraska. That is not far from Haigler, Nebraska, where Alex Peterson lives. And here it is, quote, "Drones are flying over this area as we speak." This co-worker in McCook, Nebraska, said they are big and one is flying much lower than the rest. And this morning and some yesterday. He said there is complete silence and you can't hear anything, but you can see the lights and the shape of this drone with binoculars. This girl is a licensed drone operator, so she knows what she is looking at. Apparently, the drones seem to be headed west, and she is turning a report into the sheriff's office now. She said they are everywhere and hard to even get a count on them. There are so many in the sky. So that was today, and a similar report yesterday. Then received from Earthfiles listener that last night drones were spotted over southeastern Colorado, including the towns of Lamar, Springfield, Campo, and Two Buttes. They are all close to the Kansas and Oklahoma borders. Baca County, Colorado borders Kansas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico. Those, if been a question, are these drone sightings going to expand out of Nebraska and Colorado? T6 News title, "Recent Drone Phenomenon Spotted in Saunders County." This is near Meade in Nebraska. And they had a photograph that I just got printed out before we went on the air tonight. And it shows what looks like red, white, alternating lights in the form of a V, another sort of different shape. All right, we will try to keep going, which I think is the theme of 2020. We've got to keep going no matter what happens. And now the final button that I wanted to close out, having to do with these strange, mysterious aerial, whether they're drones, whatever they are, whatever the technology is, whatever the tests are, I got a very interesting, I'll say it was like a brief note to me from a professional control remote viewer who said that he became interested in what was happening and sat down to do a controlled remote view. And here are some notes from what he sent me just this past weekend. I believe that they are from a base, meaning a military base, near Aurora, Colorado. It has a heavy space component, thinking of Space Force component. The drones are flown from a distance. There are no living pilots. The implication, all AI. And they are a new type of drone. Well, whatever the bell-shaped curves of data, hard evidence, speculation, this is truly a mystery that seems to have dug itself into what is called the presence that we have, meaning it's hanging in there and it's persisting, it's not going away. And based on what happened last night in Haigler with Alex and his sister-in-law and people, they were seeing things last night. They've literally been seeing and taping every night except one since December 30th. And if you multiply that around the various areas that you could see, all those red circles on the maps that I had in the video, that from Colorado into Nebraska, it was moving to the east from Sterling in that area. And now the question would be, is it going to move beyond Colorado and Nebraska? And if it is a monitoring situation, are we monitoring something that is dangerous, as he suggested in our interview that we did Monday. Could it be something like a nuke or something that fell from a satellite that could be dangerous, and they don't want the public to know, and they think that they can look with all this money and technology and find whatever is missing without any public alarm? And if it's not that, what is it? So I throw open to you as my first interaction with you tonight in terms of questions and answers. What do you think? If there are people who are watching and listening who are professionals in the government, intel agencies, military, and if you have any firsthand information and you want to get it to me, we can work through ProtonMail, the US mail, and FedEx. I do that with a number of people. And to me, in a situation like this, I still strongly feel that all of us, we deserve to know the truth of what is behind something that is, as the New York Times headline said, creepy. It's mysterious. It's so strange that authorities that you would think would have all the information, Homeland Security and the FAA, that they would step up to the plate and tell us what they knew. And if they don't know anything, that makes this even weirder. Now, Peggy, what I'd like to do is to launch from exploring and investigating this mystery this first week of January 2020, having gotten back from Christmas vacation and dived into this, and feel like I wish I had a whole lot more answers. I would love to see what's on everybody else's mind tonight with questions.
Hi, Linda. First, I'd like to thank some people for their super chats. So if I could thank Rachel, Marius, Stephen, Christy, and Judy, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, thank you. Everything helps, and I am so, so happy that we have this ability to talk with each other on Wednesday nights, and that you are saying to me that you like this. So thank you.
We have a lot of people are really interested in what's going on, and some questions are hypotheticals, wondering what you think. Could they be ground penetrating, looking for tunnels?
This came up in an email exchange today with Alex on that question. If we knew exactly what the technology was on this technology, we might learn that it has the ability to do deep ground penetrating radar. That what they're looking for may not be lying on the surface of anything. And it may be that it is a new AI technology to be 100, 200, 300, 400 feet above the ground, being monitored and controlled by the higher plane that, as Alex said, he's seen it 2 or 3 times with that solid red light. If it's the fixed wing, maybe it's controlling what is happening to the drones, and maybe the new technology that is being tested is some kind of deep ground penetrating radar looking for objects or tunnels or something underground. But why then specifically starting in Sterling and Sydney and going east into southwestern Nebraska in areas, Sterling and Sydney and all that area once upon a time was highly concentrated with a lot of underground Minuteman missiles. And now, as my video explained, we've got Minuteman IIIs, and they are focused at the F.E. Warren base in Cheyenne, at the Great Falls, Montana, Malmstrom, and then Minot in North Dakota, and that's where we have those missiles. So there doesn't seem to be a direct match on the question that I think a lot of people have asked. Could it be having something to do with missile sites? So there doesn't seem to be a geographic match directly. Hagler, as Alex said, is 125 miles from the nearest underground silo that at least he's aware of that is up in the Sterling area and going, or that's where they were. So I think that the idea that the search, if that's what it is, could be for something underground in this day and age, that might be possible. And here we are, first week of 2020, here is a mystery that has pushed me to start investigating and reading and studying about a whole lot of subjects that I had not paid much attention to before. I am now, and I think that's what's going to happen. This is a mystery, and it either is going to have no end, meaning this will just continue, or it will come to an end, and then maybe no one will tell us anything, or there will be an event associated with this. Something will happen, and that may be what pushes out the truth for us to find out. In the meantime, for all of those of you out there in universities, in military, and any place else, and you had any information about what this might be, please get in touch with me. What about another question?
We have a great question about the amount of UFO sightings that have been reported. And somebody wants to know, do you think the rise in UFO sightings could be related to the political storm happening worldwide because otherworldly beings know of the threats that are happening here?
It is a very good question. When you look back to the 20th century and you go back to World War II was where the Foo Fighters and the whole issue of what was Germany's relationship with something that Hitler called extraterrestrial, having to do with the Vril and Aldebaran, another star system, and all of that was in the back channels of World War II. And then the evolution up to the 21st century, it always comes down to me that one of the most remarkable things that I have ever heard coming from somebody who worked inside of our government in the Defense Intelligence Agency was that discussion in December of 1999. And that was when the DIA analyst told me World War II was an extraterrestrial war fought through human bodies. And I remember that really stunned me, those words. Well, now we're at 2020 in the 21st century. You have the feeling, I do, palpable, that there are all kinds of forces in agitation and chaos that seem to be shaking the earth up, and that out of this shakeup could come we'll say the confirmation, finally, of the truth, that we're not alone in this universe, and that we will learn a lot about other intelligences. So in those bookends, World War II and where we are now, if you look back, there has been a kind of, through books, sort of a theme that UFO activity increases in certain areas where events that might have a big impact on at least a lot of people are going to happen. Sometimes it is the sense that UFO activity anticipates something coming, something going to happen. Right now, we are at this very, very uncertain point where we do not know exactly now what is going to happen in Iran, Iraq, that it has been extremely agitated and bumpy, and today there seems to be an effort on the part of the administration to reduce the energy in words. Will it stick? Or will there be some kind of further retaliation, and would everything ratchet up to what none of us want to happen who are rational? We don't want nuclear missiles flying in the skies of this planet. Would the alien presence that clearly interacts with our Earth. And scientists, military, and government people have used that phrase with me, and they know it is here and exists. Are nuclear missiles, the splitting atom and energy, are they a threat to the alien presence as well as to us, largely on the surface life? The implication in so many abduction cases over the years, there have been these pieces that add up to what I remember in one particular abductee. And that echoed what an airline pilot who had served in the military, and he had been exposed to the alien presence issue and something that had happened in a mission he was doing. And he said that he understood that when we would blow up an atomic bomb or a hydrogen bomb, that we would be, quote, tearing into other dimensions that we know nothing about, and that there can be destruction in other dimensions from splitting the atom in things like atomic and hydrogen bombs in this dimension and matter universe. So if that is a huge concern that only a few people know about, and the alien presence has interfered with the Minuteman missile silos in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and almost making it clear to people who were at Malmstrom and Warren and Minot and those areas back in those years, that the UFO phenomena had the ability to bring down missile systems, which they demonstrated and did, that they had such control on the missile systems that they could have they could start the missile firing up and then bring them down in a controlled way. And the one that I have mentioned about my brother's own firsthand knowledge, that when there was a huge football field-sized orange fluorescent UFO that sat down over a missile silo in Great Falls at Malmstrom Air Force Base, where my brother was stationed as a helicopter pilot in 1975, that within 24, 48 hours, they had been able to look at the magnetic tape that had all of the binary code for the targeting information and everything related to what this nuclear missile would do. And my brother learned firsthand that the targeting information only had been changed electromagnetically on the tape. And if we knew what the alien intelligence did to communicate with our government and indirectly other human governments, it might be that something like changing the target of a nuclear missile in Montana to aim at Washington, D.C. instead of over the pole, that might have been what happened, and that would have sent a really serious message. And right now, what forces on Earth right now are closely embedded and entwined with vested interests in what is going to happen at Iran, Iraq, the United States, China, Russia, and the geopolitical forces that we all worry about. 2020 could be a pivot year. It could become so climate violent, seismic violent. That's been one of the things that some people who have worked in the government, they say that starting in 2020 and going forward, there will be a lot of changes on this planet. As Spartan once said in my documentary about Antarctica, that he was told there was a time coming when the Earth would turn on us. And maybe, ironically, maybe there are alien intelligences who have such vested interest in this planet as a laboratory, that they will do everything that they can to prevent nuclear war because it would hurt them. So maybe there's a lot of forces at work, a lot of entropy up against light. And as you know from my t-shirts, down with entropy, up with light. I hope this is a way, way, way better year than it feels like it's starting. Do we have time for a couple more?
We do. I think this is a great question. Linda, how large do you think the pool of recycling souls is? Is it a never-ending pool of souls of differing ages and numbers of visits, or is it finite?
That's a great question. I remember that there was a book written by the author who did a series on witchcraft. For some reason, I'm not remembering her name right now. Probably some of you will remember, but this goes back like to the 90s. And she did a book in which the whole theme was that the secret to the universe that we were in was that there was a divine consciousness that was responsible for everything that was, and that its final or ultimate experiment is to have a pool of souls. I think it was called something like the Goth. And that all of the souls that have ever been and would be were there. And that over what we would call time, which to the divine consciousness was not time, but was part of this challenge, this experiment, souls would be sent out into all of these various dimensions and matter worlds and universes. And that divine intelligence wanted to know one thing and one thing only ultimately. How many of those souls created by the divine intelligence would be put into a vast myriad of challenging matter, challenging dimensions, strange timelines, everything with some profound sense of black versus white, right versus wrong, love versus hate, death versus life. And that all of that would be played out until the divine intelligence saw that every single soul in that big pool, the God, chose willingly on their own, even if it took trillions of years, to return to that pool with the divine. And I've always thought that that was at least a wonderful context in which to live life on Earth, with the idea that the soul does recycle in other containers. It is going on, and that might be the answer why. What about another question?
A viewer would like to know, when are the Spartans coming out of the shadow, and when are they going to go on record? In 2020?
They really, really would like to join me on either side of me at conferences, at my broadcasts, whatever I was doing. And I hope that I'm going to be able to tell the whole story of everything that has happened. But I have to be careful until they tell me that they can go forward, that I don't do anything that would hurt their process, because they acted as whistleblowers with very, very, very sensitive material. And if you all could see all of the information that I have received, a lot of it highly confidential from others who have served in military or intel, who are telling me, your film, these were words to me just a few days ago, your film is vitally important. You are sharing the truth. And then giving me some more details. So Spartan 1 and Spartan 2, they had the courage to talk because, as Spartan 2 said to me, I don't understand why there are power brokers on this planet who feel that they have the right to keep from the whole world family information that seems owed humans. That there is this huge architecture 2 to 3 miles deep under the ice on the eastern side of the continent of Antarctica. And it could be 34 million years old or older. He said, what right does any current living human have to keep from the human family something that could be millions of years old? What justifies the secret? So I understand his frustration. I know it echoes so many other words that people who have reached out to me and said, please keep telling the truth. You are telling the truth. And we wish that we could join you. But in the meantime, we will at least try to get you information to help you. So we are at a strange time in so many ways that they want to stand with me, but I also understand that they have been hurt in some ways, punished in some ways, and they have to clear their deck to a certain extent. And I will be there cheering them on to be able to join me. And I think it would be wonderful if we could just get this revolution over with, that the whole planet moved to, we're not alone in this universe. There are alien presences here, there are alien presences throughout the Milky Way galaxy and beyond. And then once we could do that, and it became then a whole new paradigm shift for all cultures and all civilizations, then the idea of whistleblowers and you can't change and talk about anything in history or religion or science or anything that you learn from non-humans because it will upset all of the academic books like we have already an established science, an established religion, an established philosophy base on this planet, and that all of that might be upturned and, oh, we can't do that. See, we have to get past, we can't change things. Of course we can change. Of course we can grow up. Of course we can be on a planet that honored life, that honored nature, that lived in tremendous conservation and moderate instead of waste and excess and money being the only driving force behind everything that is happening. Someday I would think that intelligences would look at this period and think we'd all gone mad. It's insane. Life and sharing should be the top priority. And so Spartan 1, Spartan 2, others that are communicating with me, and I know their military backgrounds. Maybe in a way, my film Antarctica, Alien Secrets Under the Ice, with Spartan 1 and Spartan 2, who are exactly the real deal. Maybe they are like the advanced beginnings where we are at a point that those that know the truth and that governments are finally going to be pushed by the people, back again to the people being the driving force to tell the truth. that's my hope and that's my prayer for 2020 and far beyond. And in this strange time with so many things feeling like it's just, if there's a year that we've ever been in, that 2020 could just be one surprise after another. And that my heart and my soul and my mind go out to everybody in Australia and New Zealand who would have thought that it would be possible that an entire continent of Australia would be so on fire now in 2020 because the climate has changed so much and everything has become such tinder, and the temperature 120 degrees Fahrenheit in a suburb near Sydney. We don't want that to happen here in the United States or Canada or any place else. And I hope that all of you will join me in trying to ask questions and keep pushing for more information from all around you in cities and universities everywhere, so that you get facts about what is happening with the global climate change, and that it isn't a political football, it can't be manipulated, but that you and I and others are sincerely in love with this planet and with the idea of a future in which we can grow up and learn that we're not alone in this universe, and there may be intelligences trying to help us right now, and that we need governments that reflect humanity is not something to sell or manipulate. And that's what scares me about the current present time. So I hope all of you listening tonight in this first week of 2020, that you will join me in trying in every way you can with everybody you know to try to move the ball forward away from separation and hate and death and war. Just being able to talk about the truth of the other intelligences in this universe. What a big step for a planet that has been kept in the dark on purpose by self-serving forces for a long, long time. And if we can break that open in 2020, maybe we're going to all have a future on Earth together. That's my prayer, that's my hope. Thank you for being here. Tell everybody that you know to subscribe to my Earthfiles YouTube and to come to earthfiles.com. I'm doing an Earthfiles news report of a lot of this information. It will be posted tomorrow. And I love being able to share with you. And I love all of your letters and emails. And I am going to do an Earthfiles YouTube broadcast some point here in the near future, where I start breaking down all of these letters that I'm getting into files. And I'm going to start opening up subjects and reading some of the profound communications I've gotten. It's not necessary for me to use your name or your location, but I do want to share through Earthfiles, the broadcast, some of the just stunning experiences that some of you have had that just leave me in awe and thinking, why are we not talking with each other about some of these kinds of phenomena that are such a part of so many people's lives, whether it's out of body or having some kind of an intelligence standing in your own bedroom, or hearing some kind of guidance through dreams and finding something where the dreams are connected to the real world, and much, much more. So, tonight, I hope to keep hearing from you about, do you like this kind of a program? Do you like me diving deep into something that is so current and giving you sort of a news program and then going to Q&A? Do you like that? And that I'll mix it up with your letters, and then maybe once a month this year we will do the videotape Q&A like we did it in Christmas time. I thought it was fun, and maybe once a month or maybe once every other month we'll do that as well. Keep it mixed up, and always trying to break open the important facts and truth of this planet and this whole universe that we are in, and we need to grow up. I love you guys.